As Osman Gazi's influence expanded, the fragile balance of power in northwestern Anatolia teetered on the edge of collapse. His victory at Kulaca Hisar had sent shockwaves through the Byzantine strongholds of Bithynia, shaking the confidence of the Christian lords who had ruled the region for centuries. The Tekfur of İnegöl, having already suffered humiliating setbacks at the hands of Osman, was now in a desperate position. The Byzantine landlords could no longer ignore the rise of the Ottomans, nor could they dismiss Osman as just another raiding warlord. He had proven himself not only a skilled warrior, but also a masterful strategist. For the Byzantine commanders, inaction was no longer an option. If they waited, Osman would continue his march, toppling one fortress after another until their entire domain fell under his banner. A decision had to be made, and it had to be made quickly. Realizing the severity of the threat, the Tekfur of İnegöl sent a plea to the Lord of Karacahisar, urging him to join forces in a final attempt to destroy Osman before it was too late. Why do you wait still? They will take you, your generation, and your province. These are not simple Sufi Turkmens, whom we could ignore or tolerate. If we do not act now, regret will serve no purpose. The message was a stark warning, one that resonated deeply among the remaining Byzantine leaders. Osman's victories had not only weakened Byzantine defenses, but also undermined their authority over their own subjects. Many local Greeks, weary of Byzantine taxation and ineffective leadership, had begun aligning themselves with Osman, seeing him as a capable and just ruler rather than an invader. Recognizing the threat Osman posed, the Tekfurs of İnegöl and Karacahisar forged a coalition, pooling their resources and manpower to mount an offensive against the Kayu. Their combined forces, numbering around 2,000 men, included heavily armed Byzantine infantry, known for their discipline and defensive formations, elite cavalry, drawn from both local Byzantine knights and mercenaries, and auxiliary troops, consisting of Greek militia and Armenian archers, providing range support. Their combined forces assembled in the Söğüt and Domanic regions. Their objective was clear: eradicate Osman's forces and crush his principality before it could gain any more ground. Osman, however, was no stranger to Byzantine plots. His network of spies and informants, embedded within the Byzantine frontier towns, relayed news of the coming attack. The intelligence allowed Osman to act swiftly, calling upon his core force of Kayu warriors, numbering around 700 men, all highly mobile and battle-hardened, tribal allies, including Turkmen horse archers, skilled in hit-and-run tactics, as well seasoned commanders, such as Turgut Alp, Konur Alp, and Abdurrahman Gazi, whose knowledge of the rugged terrain would play a crucial role in the battle. Though outnumbered nearly 3-1, Osman's men held a distinct advantage. They were fighting on their own ground, in the rugged, mountainous terrain of Domanic. Rather than meeting the Byzantine army on open ground, where their cavalry and heavy infantry could dominate, Osman chose a battlefield that suited his strengths: the forests and highlands near Domanic. This location offered narrow passes, which would limit the effectiveness of Byzantine cavalry charges. Dense forests, perfect for ambushes, and guerrilla tactics, and steep hills, from which Ottoman archers and horsemen could attack with impunity before withdrawing. Osman's plan was simple, but deadly. Draw the Byzantines into the hills, exhaust them, and then strike when they were vulnerable. The Byzantines advanced with confidence, expecting to overwhelm the outnumbered Ottomans. However, they soon found themselves marching deeper into enemy-controlled territory, where every tree, hill, and ravine concealed hidden dangers. Suddenly, arrows rained down from the slopes, striking the Byzantine vanguard. Turkmen horse archers, concealed within the forest, darted in and out, launching volleys of arrows before disappearing into the trees. The Byzantine commanders, frustrated by the lack of a clear enemy, ordered their troops to press forward, believing they could push through the ambush and reach open ground. But as the main Byzantine force moved forward, they fell directly into Osman's trap. At a narrow valley where the Byzantine column was most vulnerable, Osman sprung his counterattack. Alp and Osman Gazi led a charge from the flanks, attacking the Byzantine rear and supply lines. Alp's cavalry, waiting on a hidden ridge, descended upon the center of the Byzantine formation, cutting it in half. Osman himself, fighting in the thick of battle, led his warriors in a frontal charge, striking at the demoralized Byzantine forces. The initial attack threw the Byzantines into chaos, but their numerical superiority soon became evident. Their disciplined infantry, armed with shields and spears, formed defensive lines to repel the Caillou assault. The Byzantine cavalry, though limited in number, attempted to flank Osman's forces. The battle devolved into brutal, close-quarters combat. Swords clashed, and the forest floor was stained with blood. The Caillou warriors fought with ferocity, spurred by their belief in the justice of their cause. However, the Byzantines' greater numbers began to take a toll. Amid the chaos, Osman's brother, Söğüt II, led a daring charge into the enemy's ranks. His bravery inspired the Caillou, but it came at a cost. Struck by a Byzantine spear, Söğüt II fell, mortally wounded. The sight of their fallen hero enraged the Caillou warriors. Fueled by grief and anger, they redoubled their efforts. The Byzantines, exhausted and disoriented, attempted to reform their lines, but the chaos of the ambush left them leaderless. As the Ottoman warriors pushed forward, the Byzantine army crumbled, first in sections, then in total collapse. The Greek militia and Armenian auxiliaries broke first, fleeing into the forest where they were hunted down by Osman's horsemen. The Byzantine heavy infantry, unable to maneuver in the dense terrain, were surrounded and slaughtered. It was a complete disaster. The Tekfur of İnegöl, seeing the battle lost, attempted to retreat, but he was cut down before he could escape. The remaining Byzantine troops scattered, abandoning their weapons, armor, and supplies as they fled the battlefield. The Battle of Domanic was more than just another victory for Osman. It was a turning point. The Byzantine lords of Bithynia had suffered a devastating defeat, one they would never fully recover from. Osman's reputation soared, drawing even more warriors to his cause. The Ottoman Principality, once a small frontier state, had now become a rising power, a growing force that no longer just raided Byzantine lands but actively conquered them. With the Byzantine army shattered, the door to further conquest stood open. Osman wasted no time in capitalizing on his victory. In the aftermath of the battle, he turned his sights on Karacahisar, determined to deal the Byzantines another crushing blow. And so, with the embers of Domanic still smoldering, Osman marched forward, setting into motion the events that would ultimately lead to the birth of the Ottoman Empire. This was no longer just a frontier war. It was the beginning of a dynasty that would reshape the world for centuries to come.